You're listening to Thunder and Lightning on SuperTalk Mississippi, covering Mississippi State sports like nobody else. With Sports Talk Mississippi's Brian Hadad and Robbie Faulk of On3 Sports. Now get ready for Thunder and Lightning.
This is Thunder and Lightning here on... I see that look.
What?
We were having, not an argument, but a discussion before the show started. And Robbie's brought that into the show now. I can see it on his face.
I was trying to smile. That's my way of smiling.
That's our point. You were trying to smile. You weren't smiling. You were trying to smile.
I'm on YouTube right now.
Oh,
my face is on YouTube. I can't have the resting B face. But that reminds me, I need to show you a picture that my sister sent me today of my dad riding through Disney World in a scooter. He looks so, I don't know if it's angry or focused.
Send it now.
It's going to turn me sideways.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I forgot you're recording on your phone. All right. First thing as soon as we end the show. It's Thunder and Lightning here on Super Talk Mississippi. Brian Hadad and Robbie Faulk here with you on a Friday morning. Thanks for joining us and starting your weekend with us here at supertalk.fm or wherever it is that you get podcasts from. We appreciate you guys out there, our great listeners, especially our servicemen and women out there taking care of us. We want to thank our sponsors over at Strange Brew Coffee House and Churn and Spoon Ice Cream. Start your day the right way with a trip to the drive-thru over at Strange Brew Coffee House here in Starkville or at Brupolo over in Tupelo. Be a little weird, Robbie, if Brupolo was in Ediston.
That would be really weird.
Wherever you are in our great state, you can enjoy Strange Brew Coffee each and every morning. It's only a click away at strangebrewcoffeehouse.com.
I'm just trying to add a little personality to the show by smiling.
A little cachet. I got you.
People have gotten on to me before saying that I never smile, all this stuff. So now I try to smile, and you're getting on to me.
No. I'm not getting on to you. I just saw that look, and it made me laugh.
There was no look.
There was a look. Who's getting on to you about not smiling?
People have done it before.
Now, what do they know?
Like my mom.
Okay, she knows a lot.
Yes.
Okay. If she said it, you need to do it. I agree with that. All right. The Mississippi Beef Council wants to remind you that beef, it is what's for dinner. Whatever you're cooking, beef is the ingredient that makes meals better. I was at the grocery store today. I was thinking, we've been kind of in a rut of weeknight meals. What can I do different? And they had some stir-fry beef, a couple of packages. I was like, text the wife. I was like, what about steak fried rice? She was like, sounds good. So that's what we're having tonight. And that's the great thing about beef. It's easy to cook, cooks quickly, it's good for you, it's delicious. It's got everything you want to make your weeknight meals better than ever before. If you're looking for recipes, they've got them on the Mississippi Beef Council's website. And, of course, if you don't want to cook, so many great restaurants selling steaks in the state of Mississippi. Go find you one and enjoy a great meal tonight. Beef, it's what's for dinner, thanks to our friends at the Mississippi Beef Council. College Corner, collegecornerstore.com. That's the place to find the maroon and white merchandise that you're looking for. I know that you're looking for it. I know that you're thinking right now, oh, man, I really could go for a new pullover. I need a state script polo. I still have these banner M things. I need to get rid of them. I hear you. So let's make it easy. A trip to College Corner will serve all those needs. 2 locations in the Jackson area. They're origined by Fleet Feet or Flowood by the Half Shell. Or you can shop online at collegecornerstore.com. Restaurant Tyler, Starkville's flagship restaurant for lunch, for dinner, for Sunday brunch. Best meal in town is at Restaurant Tyler. I love going to Restaurant Tyler. If you got a special occasion coming up, not that you need one. You don't need a special occasion to have dinner at Restaurant Tyler. You can just eat dinner at Restaurant Tyler, and that's the special occasion. But if you got one coming up, a trip to Restaurant Tyler it's just a must. That's the best way to celebrate with one of the best meals, not only in Starkville, but in the entire state of Mississippi. Great steaks, great pasta dishes, great fried chicken, whatever it is you're looking for. If you want to have a fantastic dinner, it starts at Restaurant Tyler. Priority One Bank, 16 locations to serve you throughout central Mississippi. Let PriorityOneBank.com be your guide to show you not only where they're located, but show you how they're going to help you invest, manage your money, and prepare for the future. Anything that has to deal with your money, you deserve quick answers when you have questions. That's why you need a bank like Priority One Bank that takes you seriously, that values you as a customer, and gives you a level of service you're not going to get at those big corporate banks. When you want to talk to somebody about your money, You want to do it quickly, you need a bank like Priority One Bank. Let Priority One Bank make you their priority. So this is the last home basketball weekend for Mississippi State. As we're recording, we've got basketball tonight at the Hump as the ladies take on the number one team in the nation, the Texas Longhorns, the return of Vic Schaefer. Robbie and I have discussed Future Brian will return if and only if State can win that game. So
yes, there's no need in getting my hopes up or your hopes up right now.
Let's not do that. Let's just say
we're going to have no cares in the world. If Mississippi State beats number one, you will be on here,
and I will tell you,
maybe I will make an appearance.
He will have already talked at this point. He will leave the show. As soon as that ad break finishes, I'm going into Future Brian. I'll interrupt there. But if you're still hearing my voice, you haven't heard the reporting from the future, it didn't happen. So
I told Vic Schaefer the other day that I hope he lost tonight.
To which he replied, Robbie, come walk with me, brother.
He said I hurt his feelings. And he was serious,
too. Like, hurt my feelings when you walked out the door.
He didn't laugh. He just said, that hurts my feelings.
You were going to say.
Did you think I wanted Texas to win this game, Coach?
Yeah. You got the wrong MSU media member. Tyler Horka, he don't work here no more. So, anyway. We'll talk about that. Let's do some basketball, some men's basketball. Final home game of the weekend. So you got a home game next Tuesday. This is the last weekend home game for Mississippi State basketball. Taking on the LSU Tigers. Now, we'll start with the obvious with this one. The LSU is not a very good team. I think the last I looked, they were 80th in the net, which makes this, I believe, a quad 3 game for State. Let me double check that. Let me double check where they are in the net. They're 80th. They're 14-14 overall. I believe they have 2 wins in the conference. They just are not a good basketball team. And it's one of those things. Let me double check where quad 3. Yes, this is a quad 3 game for Mississippi State. We've talked a lot. About the 3 coaches that were hired when Jans was hired. That there was, State, Florida, LSU all looking for jobs, or all looking for coaches. Matt McMahon, Todd Golden, Chris Jans. And it was going to, you could have almost put their names in the hat, and whoever got hired, everybody would have been happy at that time. Golden has obviously done a fantastic job at Florida. He's got them, as a top 5 team. Jans is about to go to his 3rd straight NCAA tournament. McMahon, it just has not panned out for him there. And although they say they're going to give him another year, he will be on the hottest of seats next season. This game, to me, comes down to one thing. And these next 3 games, and even beyond that, Robbie, going into the SEC tournament and then going into the NCAA tournament. I've reached the point in the season where Hubbard is Hubbard. You're going to get what you get from Hubbard. You're going to get 15 to 25 every night. Maybe not the best shooting night like he had the other night, but you're going to get those points. You're going to get 12 to 16 probably out of Keshawn Murphy. He's become a viable number 2 option. Even coming off the bench, he's been really, really good this year. I foresee him next year being a potential all-SEC guy when he goes into the starting lineup. Cam Matthews, to me, at this point, anything you get out of him is just what you get, right? To me, it's just about just don't turn the ball over. I'll take what I can get from rebounds and assists and points, but whatever is whatever. Just don't turn the ball over. State's wins and losses, how far State can go in the NCAA tournament comes down to Riley Kugel, Claude L. Harris, and R.J. Melendez. Those are the 3 guys that when they show up for State, State's going to win. And they don't need all 3 of them. If they can get 2, that's great. But if I can get 15-plus points out of one of those guys to go with Hubbard and Keshawn Murphy, I feel like State's going to win those games more often than not. I think we're too deep in the season to say, well, they could turn it around and they could become more consistent. They just are what they are at this point. But is what they are enough for Mississippi State to advance in March?
It really feels like it's a matchup thing.
Yeah.
Like, who do they match up with? That's kind of where I am with this team. If it's a good 3-point shooting team, I'm just going to expect them to lose. Like I feel that's just what I feel right now, because they have done nothing to stop good three-point shooting teams from being good three-point shooting teams. Good defensive teams like what Mississippi State has been under Chris Jans, they can take away things that you do well. This team has not done that, at least not from a three-point percentage perspective. So that's just kind of where I am with them. And we know what to expect at this point from Josh Hubbard and Keshawn Murphy. Keshawn, I can argue, has been State's most consistent player in SEC play. Hubbard has the most points. I think he averages 18 points a game in SEC play. But you're going to get, a 3 for 10 3-point shooting night from him every other game. Keshawn is consistent across the board.
Did you see what he shot on Tuesday?
Was it 8 of 11 or something?
8 of 11.
Yeah. 61% shooter, far and away State's best shooter in SEC play. The next best is Michael Nwoko at 52%. He's shooting 61% in SEC play, which is amazing because a lot of his game is, a lot of it's 10, 12 feet out. Those little runners in the lane. I mean, it's not always just dunking it or laying it up. He has an arsenal there. 12.9 points per game, which is second on the team. I think he's averaging 11.7 for the year, so he's better in SEC play. And 7.5 rebounds leads the team. So, to me, and he leads the team in blocks for 21. To me, Keshawn, there's an argument to be made. He is Mississippi State's MVP in SEC play.
Yeah.
From a consistency standpoint. Now, Josh is averaging 5-6 more points than he is, but I just think Keshawn, when he comes in, you're going to get 14 to 18 points at this point and 8 to 11, 12 rebounds. You're getting really good play when he's in the ballgame. But you've got to get more from Riley Kugel. Riley's averaging 8.2 points a game in SEC play, but it's like so volatile. It's 1 for 9, 2 for 12. Like you're not getting consistency from him. He's not making shots. RJ Melendez isn't making a lot of shots. He's shooting 11 of 57 from 3 in SEC play. Kugel's 16 of 53. Sean Jones is 8 of 30. Claudell Harris is shooting, he's 33%. He's State's second best three-point shooter. Not terrible. He's right there with Josh Hubbard as far as percentage. But those guys have got to be more consistent. When they get those open looks, they got to knock those down. I think that's what's hurting State, even like about the same as what they're doing on defense with three-point range. They're shooting 6 of 30 from 3 or 8 of 28. Like, you're just not getting those wide open shots to fall. Melendez isn't hitting them. Claudell isn't hitting them. Riley Kugel isn't hitting them. Like, is that a Chris Jans thing? Because that's been this team for 3 years now. Think of all those wide open shots they got in year one. That I think State was like number 1 in the country in looks. Like they had the most wide open looks in the country, and they were the worst three-point shooting team in the country.
Chris Jan's first year at State, basically every shot State took was within 2 feet of the basket or a wide open 3. And if they could have made wide open 3s, they might have been the number 1 team in the nation. That and free throws, that was what killed them. That's why I've always been a big Jans guy. That first year, like even when they struggled offensively, they had so many good looks. And if they didn't, and they were getting to the free throw line constantly, I was like, guys, if they could just make shots, nobody could beat them. And I mean, I know that's true about everybody, but it was really evident here. This year, you're correct. I can't tell you how many, and it's the opposite on the other end. The other team gets contested looks sometimes, but they do, even when they're wide open, they're hitting, and State's not. Of these 3 guys, who is the most reliable?
I think Melendez.
Okay.
Of Melendez, Kugel,
and Harris.
Harris, yeah, I think Melendez. Because
yeah,
I feel like you're getting consistent effort from him. He's defending for the most part. I mean, he's your second leading scorer or third leading scorer in SEC play. No, he's right behind Claudell's averaging 9.5. He's averaging 9.3. But I just think he does a little bit more on the offensive end. It's not that's not anything to write home about. It's still not great, but he's probably, I would say, the most consistent out of that crew.
I think that for me, the effort is never questioned with Melendez or with Harris. With Kugel, sometimes I'm like, is he playing as hard as he could?
Is he locked in? Yeah.
Yeah, and that's an issue. That's an issue for him.
And that's kind of frustrating is I look at him and I think, I don't know if I can find another NBA guy on the roster, but I think he has tools to be in the NBA.
He does, but he will not be in the NBA.
And I think that's what's so frustrating about it is he's probably the most talented guy on the team. Just from a physical, able to do anything aspect. He's probably the most talented, most well-rounded basketball player.
Yeah.
He can shoot, he can drive, he can defend. He's got size in his position, he's got versatility, he can run the point, he can play the 2 or the 3. We're just not seeing it from him. We're not seeing it consistently, and he's kind of been the wild card for Mississippi State. If he gets it together, if he's healthy against Kentucky, it looks like he's going to have a really big game. You probably win that game. But he wasn't. He wasn't healthy. And then you come back, and he's a big factor, I thought, against Ole Miss. Other than that, we just haven't seen him really rise to the occasion in SEC play. And that has hurt Mississippi State. RJ Melendez, I think, is performing around expectations. He's a guy that came in. I think he averaged 8.5 or whatever.
He's a little worse shooter than I thought he'd be. But other than that, you're not wrong.
But I didn't expect him to be a good shooter for State. Now he's got good form. He didn't come in as a good shooter.
That's what I'm saying though. He's a little worse than I thought he'd be. I didn't say I thought he was going to be a great shooter or a good shooter. He's just a little worse than I thought he'd be.
He is performing worse than that, but I didn't think he was going to be a good shooter anyways. So that's kind of a wash. But when you look at him in SEC play, almost 10 points a game, he's performing about where I thought. I thought he was going to be a good role player for State. He was going to defend. He could give you some points, maybe knock down a shot or two if you needed it. But almost 10 points a game in SEC play, I can't be upset. Claudell Harris, he's averaging almost 10 a game. Can't be totally upset about that. Riley Kugel just not really performing how he needed to perform because you were hoping you were going to get the best of Riley Kugel with him going from, a tough situation at Florida where it just didn't work out to kind of a new start here. But it was kind of a flip of a coin. We didn't know how he would react to Chris Jans. We didn't know how he would play game in and game out. We knew when they picked him up that this was going to be a guy that could be hit or miss, and that's been where he's been in SEC play. I mean, the numbers are really kind of crazy, like how up and down. He had 3 really good games, I thought, in a row. Ole Miss, 21 points, 12 against Tennessee, 15 against South Carolina. Then he comes back with 2 against Bama and 0 against Missouri. And he also had 0 against Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
And then
I remember that he had that Vandy game. We're like, that's just a one-off. He'll be fine. And then the next, couple weeks he was good. And that the Ole Miss game, State doesn't win without him. His best game was against Memphis. He was dominant in that game. You see these flashes, and there's nothing more frustrating than the player who shows the flashes and then doesn't. I would much rather deal with a player like you're just like that guy's just not any good, but at least he's trying as hard as he can, right? I can get past that. Somebody who just gives you a few minutes. What I can't get past is somebody who I know has the talent and isn't giving it to you on a daily basis. It drives me insane. I said yesterday, it's one of the most frustrating teams I've ever covered. Kugel is a big part of that. Like, I just don't enjoy watching him play because I don't know what I'm going to get. And I feel like when he doesn't deliver, it's because he's missing open shots and making easy mistakes.
He's in the last 6 games, 10 points, 7 points, 11 points, 2 points, 11 points, 4 points.
You just get the 11 points. If it's just 11 points every night.
Well, and here's the problem. The 11 points, 4 of 10 against Ole Miss.
Yeah.
And then Oklahoma, 5 of 17. And he was a combined 2 for 12 from 3 in those 2 games. So he got double figures, but it's because he shot 27 shots and he was 9 of 27. So you're just not getting.
Yeah.
In the last 5 games, he is 3 for 10, 16, 8, 3 for 19 from 3. I don't understand it.
It doesn't make sense.
I don't understand why and it's not just Kugel. Like I feel like we're picking on him a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not just him. It's Sean Jones is 8 of 30, and
Well, Claudel Harris was a guy that shot 36% at Boston College, and he comes here and now he can't hit open threes. The guy was recruited specifically to be a 3-point sniper, and you just can't rely on him. So,
and at least he hits some every now and then.
He has hit a few big ones this year, but we'll see. State's, you're right. You're right. Two things are true, right? You're right that State's matchup is heavily dependent on, tells you a lot about how they're going to advance. As of the last bracketology that came out, which was on the 25th, so it was before the loss to Alabama, State was matched up as a 7 seed with San Diego State. They shoot just under 34%. That is like on the line, right? I'd much rather see somebody who's at 32, 31% than 34, 30. Yeah. Start getting above 35%, State's losing that game. They're just losing that game. There's just no way around it. So that's true. But at the same time, State can overcome. You think about how many 3-pointers they gave up against Kentucky and how many they gave up against Alabama. They almost won those games because the other guys showed up. Of course, in the Alabama game, you get Hubbard with 38. I don't know if you can rely on that or not. But the Kentucky game, Kugel and Harris and Melendez, those guys showed up in those games. So that's what's going to have to happen here. State should win these next 2. The game with Arkansas will be very tough. If you're a State fan, you'd really like Arkansas to just lose their next 2 games so that when you get up there, they aren't playing to be on the bubble any longer. They're just trying to finish out the season. But State is going to be favored, I think, to win these final 3 games and finish at 10-8. And that's a great, considering what the conference is this year and considering everything that's happened, that's a great finish for Mississippi State. It's as I said earlier, it's been frustrating. This is definitely a frustrating season because they've had so many just really uncompetitive losses. And what I said on the radio show yesterday, and tell me if you agree, in a roller coaster season, the highs haven't been very high. Like they beat Memphis and that was a good win. The 2 wins over Ole Miss are nice, but they didn't, if they had beaten Kentucky, you have a big high. If you beat Alabama, you have a big high. You don't have that, but you have some really low lows. You lose by 38 to Alabama. You get dominated by Tennessee and by Auburn at home. The Missouri game, these are big lows. You haven't had those high highs. Maybe it'll balance out and you have the high highs in March, and that's what everybody would like to see. But as you said, very dependent on these matchups for the Bulldogs going forward. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, and LSU, this isn't going to be just a pushover game. If they don't show up in this game, they will lose.
Yeah, I agree.
That's the problem with the SEC this year. You cannot sleepwalk against anyone in this league.
Yeah.
So if they don't show up in this game, they're going to get beat, and this would be a very bad loss. And LSU is playing better. They lost by 6 against Tennessee. They lost by 14 at Florida. Not terrible, or that was at home against Florida. And then they had the big wins against Oklahoma on the road, South Carolina. Blew the game against Ole Miss. They should have had that win.
Hold on now, boss. We're not going to be calling South Carolina a big win. I'm not going to allow that one.
Well, no, I meant big.
Just a win.
They blew them out.
Yeah. Okay. I see what you're saying then. Okay.
No, I'm not saying it was a good win. I'm just saying they blew them out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so they've been on the cusp of some of these games. Like I said, they should have beat Ole Miss. They had a chance against
that game,
Tennessee. So it's still a team that has some talent with it. State has to come out, punch them in the mouth early, and make sure they don't stay in this game. And same for Texas. I mean, Texas coming up.
Well,
they had a heartbreaking loss against Arkansas. They are seemingly pushing themselves out of the NCAA tournament. So you hope they come in dejected and you take care of business in that, and then we'll see what happens against Arkansas. That's the Arkansas team that is probably going to be playing for its tournament live.
Yeah.
So
Texas is interesting. They're currently in the last 4 buys on bracketology, and that was put out before they lost to Arkansas this week. They, of course, lost to South Carolina. Carolina finally got a conference win last weekend. They played Georgia on Saturday, and that's another bubble team. So that's like a bubble buster kind of game. So if Georgia wins that game, Texas comes into Starkville, they have to win. They are in absolute must-win mode. Try to get a quad one win. We'll see if that can be the case. Before we switch to baseball, we're going to go a little off topic in terms of Mississippi State sports, but every now and then we get a quote that absolutely blows my mind to the stupidity of the person saying it. Like, I can't believe you said this out loud. But this Kalen DeBoer quote is incredible. Like, this may be the least situationally aware quote in the history of college football. If you haven't seen this quote, this is Kalen DeBoer, who is the head coach at Alabama, said, talking about revenue sharing, having a more balanced playing field helps our situation. It allows us to get to where it was at one point just a few years back, where recruiting is real recruiting, not just someone who's going to put in the highest bid. This is the closest I've ever been to an F-bomb on this show when I say, are you kidding me? I really want to put the F word between you and kidding. I cannot believe he said that.
It makes me so angry when Alabama does this. Greg Byrne did this. They acted like everybody was outbidding them. They didn't have their affairs in order or whatever. Like, and Nick Saban would talk about how, like, he didn't have to pay players, things like that. I'm sure they got, like, a discount on some players because they are Alabama, and, you know, that carries a lot of weight. And a lot of teams like Mississippi State or Ole Miss, they have to probably pay more. But to act like Alabama is not spending money and hasn't been spending money on players since the beginning of this thing is so disingenuous it hurts. And it shows me that I don't think Kalen DeBoer is going to last more than 3 years at Alabama. I don't think
the first thing I thought, Robbie. It was the first thing when I read that quote, I was like, can I go ahead and get odds on him being fired at the end of this season?
He's already making excuses. And anytime I hear a coach say, or like a team come out and be like, well, next year we're going to be in much better shape with NIL, and you are already in pretty good position. LSU basketball, they're coming out and saying, well, we'll be better shape. That, to me, all that says is Matt McMahon is not doing a very good job. You're having to use that as an excuse for why you're not performing well. Great coaches get the best out of their teams, no matter, what the odds say. And that LSU doesn't look like a good team to me.
No.
And they'll probably turn around and beat Mississippi State this week. But I think the record speaks for itself that they're 3-12, and he has not been competitive now in 3 seasons. It's not an NIL issue.
Right.
It's the same thing for Alabama. You didn't go 9 or 10 wins
9-4.
You didn't go 9-4 because you didn't have the players.
Right.
You lost at Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
You lost to Oklahoma. These are teams that you have more talent than.
Yeah. So
you didn't lose 4 ball games because you weren't as talented. They beat Georgia.
Yeah.
So that
and LSU.
And LSU. Yeah. So that doesn't really fly with me.
That is one of the least aware it would literally be like me talking down to people for being overweight. It's like, what are you thinking?
I didn't even, and we should look into this stuff more than we do than just quoting it. But what was the context of that? Like, was he?
Well, let's see here.
It was a Pete Nakos article. Oh, here it is.
He's asked about revenue sharing, and let me see if I can find the quote here. The regulation is really important to the game itself, says DeBoer. The regulation where we're all on an even playing field from the revenue sharing standpoint helps us, just because now it comes down to what's important in recruiting, and that's relationships and sharing your vision. First off,
that part's correct.
We're not all on an equal playing field. Even though the 20.5 is capped, NIL still exists. Your collective still exists. You can still go over that 20.5. We're not all on an equal playing field.
That is true. People will still find a way. You're right.
Exactly. The Bulldog Initiative still exists.
Yeah.
So there's that. People that want to be aligned with your vision and then come to a place like Alabama that has the resources, the tradition, the regulation and having a more balanced playing field helps our situation. It allows us to get to where it was once a point at one point just a few years back where recruiting is will recruiting, not just someone who's going to put on the highest bid. It makes me want to vomit. It's unbelievable the amount of self-righteousness in that. Look, I know that Nick Saban was a great recruiter and he worked really hard at it. But are you going to sit there with a straight face and try to tell me that nothing? Come on. Come on.
He's gonna get raked over the coals.
He will, and I'm telling you, by the end of this year, they got to play Georgia. They got to play LSU again. The game at Auburn is in Auburn this year. That means crazy things happen. I'm telling you right now, their first game with Florida State is going to want to make. I don't know if they can, but they want to make an impact coming out of the gate. And
we'll hear after that game. Yeah, well, they spent a lot of money on their roster in the offseason.
Well, you know who their offensive coordinator is?
At Florida State?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Gus Malzahn.
Somebody who knows all about beating Alabama. So I'm just saying. That quote blew my mind when I read it. I had to read it a couple of times just to be sure.
The day that Vanderbilt beat them, I think State was off.
They were.
That was such a glorious day. I didn't have to worry about anything Mississippi State. I just watched Vanderbilt, of all people, in a stadium that was probably 60% Alabama fans. That was so good.
It was something. All right. Let's move into the rest of the show. That's brought to you by our friends over at Two Brothers Smoked Meats in the heart of the Cotton District, the place to find the smoked Southern soul food that you are looking for. Two Brothers Smoked Meats right now they're playing at a high level. The last few times I've been in there, the food has just been fantastic, and I think there's some no pun intended, but there's some sibling rivalry happening here because they've got the older brother and they've got two brothers, and I know the money ends up in the same bank accounts, but I think those two restaurants compete against each other to see who can be better, and I'm all for it because both of those places are outstanding. And I love to go there. I love Two Brothers. I love the older brother. You will too. If you have not been to the older brother, you're missing out. I know you've been to Two Brothers, but it's time to come back. Next time you're in Starkville, head to the Cotton District, Two Brothers Smoked Meats, and the older brother. Great products, great service. Every business likes to promise it to you. They deliver it to you at Advantage Business Systems, and they've been doing that for about 50 years now.
Did you say 50?
I did. I did say 50.
50?
There you go. When you need technology for your business, new copier, new printer, new computers, laptops, whatever it is, the place to call is Advantage Business Systems. And then when you call them, you're going to be able to get not only a great deal, but you're going to get great service after the sale. You're going to be able to talk to people that you know. You're going to be able to talk to people who can fix your problems a lot of times the exact same day that you have them. So do that. Don't waste your time with these other places that you know aren't going to have your back if something goes wrong. 601-362-9192 or visit them online, absms.com. Find out how Advantage Business Systems will help your business do business. If you're going to be in Starkville this weekend for basketball, make sure you're headed to Maroon & Co. before the game. Get a good new pullover, new polo, new hat, new T-shirt, something. Anything maroon and white, it's on the shelf at Maroon & Co., and you're not going to find a better selection anywhere in the city of Starkville. They've got everything you're looking for, and best of all, you can save a little money when you walk in the door. Thanks to our promo code. Thunder15 saves you 15% off regular price items. That's in-store or online. If you're not going to be in Starkville anytime soon, you can still order and save that money. Next time you're in Starkville, make sure you head over to Maroon & Co. All right, Bulldogs, Diamond Dogs on the road this weekend. What is the official name of this tournament? I don't know.
The Astros Foundation Classic, I believe.
The Astros Foundation Classic. I believe the Astros Foundation raises awareness of stolen signs.
Yes.
Yes. So it's a very important charity.
They do everything by the book.
Who does things more by the book? Alabama football or the Houston Astros? Go.
Or Satan.
You're a Yankees fan. I know you hate the Astros. So
I absolutely despise the Astros. I don't care much about the Braves. I like the Braves, but I was overjoyed when they won the World Series.
Oh yeah. They truly were America's team when that happened.
Yes.
So it's a 3-game it's not a round robin. You play one side of the bracket, kind of similar to the tournament state has played in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So their bracket, their side of the bracket is 3 SEC teams. It's State, Tennessee, and Texas A&M. I mean, we're talking about some powerhouse programs there. And then you have on the other side Rice, Arizona, and Oklahoma State. State will start it off with Rice. I guess they have the first game of the tournament, 11:05 today on Friday. So early game, we'll be able. If you want to watch these games, you'll do so on the Astros website, astros.com, I believe. I spoke to people at MSU. The games are free to watch. You can just watch them online.
I think it's on YouTube too, isn't it? Don't they have a YouTube channel?
I haven't checked, but if I'll take your word for that. I don't know that for a fact. Could
be wrong, but I think they do.
To my knowledge, State hasn't announced their rotation for this weekend. I can't imagine they're making any changes at this point, although another outing from Jacob Pruitt like he had on Tuesday will make them want to have some decisions. And, of course, if Carson Ligon or Stone Simmons were to struggle, maybe that's where that decision would be made. But
I think Pruitt ultimately ends up in the rotation.
If that's what you're going to get from him, because he pitched that well against a really good lineup.
That's why, a lot of people jumped to conclusions on that first game he pitched.
Mm-hmm.
It was 17-0 ball game in the ninth. I just didn't. I thought it was too early. The guy has really good stuff, and he's experienced. He's got a good mindset. I think he's too valuable to have in midweeks moving forward. That's a guy I think is going to slide into the weekend at some point.
The one thing we don't have any questions about is the Friday starter, and that's Pico Khan. He has been outstanding. I've said it a couple times. I don't know everybody's stats across the nation in college baseball, but that guy has put out some incredible numbers, these first two stats. I asked Coach Lamonis about that on Monday, Sports Talk Mississippi, and he said he's exceeded even his highest possible expectations to this point. So I feel like State's going to get off to a good start here. This Rice program, they're 2-4. A season ago, they were 23-36. It really is weird to see Rice this bad. Like, Rice used to be a dominant program. I remember when Lance Berkman was there.
So Wayne Graham.
Yeah,
I did a quick little preview on all three of these teams that you can go look at it on 3. And
that on 3 website
they were really good with Wayne Graham, but I went and looked at their stuff, and they literally in his 27 years, that was their program. Before he was there, not very good.
Right.
After he was there, not very good.
Yeah.
They went to all 23. I think all 23 of their regionals came in his time.
It's like if James Franklin had been at Vanderbilt for 20 years.
Pretty much. And they won a national championship.
Yeah.
2003. They went to the College World Series 7 times under him, and they just have not been. I thought Matt Braga was going to be really good there, and it wasn't. And now they're just. I was looking at their stats today, and they are batting .234. So the offense has been really bad, and then their pitching staff's got a .529 earned run average. State has to win this game. I mean, you're pitching Pico Khan in that game 1. You expect him to go 6+ innings, hopefully, and be able to roll through that lineup. And State should be able to hit this team too. There's projected starter, the guy that's pitched their first 2 Friday games, has only given up 1 run, but he walked 8 guys in 9 innings. So, and he's given up 7 hits. So he just has been kind of fortunate not to give up runs at this point. State really needs to come out and get a really good start on Friday, get the bad taste out of your mouth from Troy, and move forward, because the next 2 games will be far better competition than what we're going to see on Friday between State and Rice.
It's kind of what you deal with in SEC play. Win the Friday game, and now you feel like you've got that momentum, and it's just about getting one more win to take the series. If they can win on Friday, it's just about getting one more win. I really do think State needs to be 3-1, but if they are 2-2, if they beat Rice and Oklahoma State or Rice and Arizona, you played of the 4 games you played this week, 3 of those games are against potential NCAA tournament teams. It's okay that you went 2-2 in those games. You need to bounce back strong next week, but you can just kind of go from there.
It needs to be beat Rice and then 1 of 2 against Arizona or Oklahoma State.
That's the best case scenario. So whenever I think about Rice, obviously first I think about jambalaya. But after
I was just I think food.
But after that, I don't know if you what year were you born? When were you born?
89.
Okay. Do you remember the 1998 regional where State played Rice?
Very vaguely.
I remember listening to this game on the radio. At one of the craziest games in Mississippi State history. State was down 13-5 going into the bottom of the sixth, and scored 10 runs in that inning and wins this game 15-14. And I mean, that was a loser's bracket game. They State had to win it to continue.
That team was destined for Omaha.
That was a great team. Looking at this is the old gorilla ball days, but I mean, Brian Weiss was 3 for 5. Rusty Toms was 2 for 5. Brad Freeman was 1 for 3 with a couple of walks. Richard Lee was 3 for 5. Brooks Bryan, our good friend, 2 for 4. Chapman was 2 for 5. Everybody got hits. Well, I remember listening to the radio because when it's 13-5, you're just like, all right, well, the season's over. That sucked. Hate that. And then that comeback starts happening. I remember going crazy listening to that game. So that's always the first thing that pops into my head when I think about Mississippi State, or I think about Rice University is that game. I'm trying to see if Rice had any players that stand out in terms of were they major leaguers, and I'm not seeing any. I mean, it's possible that I missed a couple, but goodness, that was a hell of a game. If State winning 2 is paramount. You do not want to. You can't just take one win away from this. But getting 3, if they go 3-1 this week, I don't. They're still very much on the hosting path, in my opinion. Very much on it,
and probably a better week than you thought coming in. If you're one,
I said they needed to be 3-1, but I don't know that I thought it would happen.
You know, I don't know if you can expect to go to a neutral site and play 3 different programs and just expect to win all 3.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do, bouncing back from that midweek loss with 3 straight wins, I think I would rather have that than losing a midweek game and taking two of 3 on the weekend. Because you lost to a top 25 team. Troy's the best team out of these 3.
It's crazy, but you're right, yeah.
So following that up with 3 straight wins, I think that actually gives this team a little more grace because people turn around and say, well, it was a midweek game, and you did lose, and you came back and you won 3 straight, so everything's fine. That's how I look at it. You go into a new week with 3 straight wins, that would be big for Mississippi State if they could do that.
Yeah.
Now, you would obviously rather have been 4-0 this week, but that's asking a lot. Winning 2 of 3 this weekend is very important for this team. 3 would be huge.
Absolutely would be. So we'll see what happens. We'll talk more about it on Monday. We'll have a full weekend to recap of Mississippi State sports as we get into March and the month that matters for college basketball, and as SEC play gets ready to get started in college baseball. This that time of year. Spring football is just around the corner as well. Guys, have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you again very soon. For Robbie Faulk, I'm Brian Hadad. Thanks for listening to Thunder and Lightning here on Super Talk, Mississippi.